Hey, Kurt, another episode of PBT Extra. Today we're looking at our first impressions after the trade deadline. What do you think? Who were the winners? Who were the losers? How do you think it all shaked out?
I mean, I think the early winner, Denver's looked really good, haven't they? Like they've won 2-0, and granted, it was the Sixers without Embiid and what have you. But Aaron Gordon brings something to them, some verticality. He hasn't even had a huge game yet, but you can see the impact on defense, the potential of it. So, like, if I'm a Nuggets fan, I'm pretty happy. I think that they've got to be much happier than, I don't know, the Bulls fans right now who don't have Zach LaVine or Toronto fans they kept Kyle Lowry and they keep struggling. So I think Denver, man, that is the one move to me that seemed to move the needle.
I mean, absolutely. I think Aaron Gordon being able to play with a phenomenal passer in Jokic is going to open up his game and just take a lot of pressure off. But I think it's going to be interesting. I have some concerns that we're going to address later on, but I'm curious to see if how the roles shake out between, especially Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. That's kind of the one question I have there. But I mean, when you're playing with someone as great as Jokic and you have all that talent on the team, it's just going to be like the more the merrier, right? Just pass the ball.
I think it's going to be interesting to see because they do overlap a little bit. I'm with you. I'm curious to see how that ultimately works out. There's been no stress test yet. Like they beat the Hawks and what their defense, and then and then Philadelphia. When they go up against a series of good teams, how does that shake out? But they've got time to work it out. And like I said, it just feels like of all the teams that made big moves, it feels like they got better. Where like I didn't see that with Boston.
Wait, I have one though. I think Miami could be really interesting. I think if Oladipo can understand his role in Miami, I think that is going to be a very dangerous team because it's Jimmy Butler as one, right? I think Bam Adebayo would be the two, and if Oladipo can be a great 2 or 3 for them, I think that's going to just take them to the next level because we saw them run out of firepower in the finals last year, right? So if Oladipo can accept his role, I'm very interested to see that Miami team go. Take a shot at it.
But they also got Bielitsa, who fills in a real need for them at the 4, right? So like, I like a lot of things they did, and they're in the middle of that very bunched up East. Somebody's got to break out of that, right? Like,
it's like a Tour de France. It's like a Tour de France cycling stage where like you have everyone in the peloton, and then like you get towards the end and somebody goes for a sprint. That's kind of how I feel like Pat Riley, like all those guys are doing in Miami. They're just like, let's just stay in the middle of the pack, and then when we get close to the playoffs, let's distance ourselves.
Every once in a while, right now, it feels like, oh, hey, Charlotte's breaking out of the peloton, and then the peloton catches them.
yeah, Charlotte. I feel like, that's a great example. Wow, that's a great example. Another team I think, just really briefly, is once again Norman Powell. I'm a huge fan of Norman Powell's game this year. He's been so consistent, and I think what he adds to that Portland team is Damian Lillard every night is putting up crazy numbers. Dame time, and he's one of the most clutch players in the NBA. CJ McCollum is about as reliable as it gets. Like he is a very smart, disciplined player who consistently produces. But they kind of, in my opinion, needed that third guy who could still score 20 any given night. Go for maybe 28 at any given night. And I think that consistent producer for them will be Norman Powell and bring a little more stability and a little more firepower to that Portland team.
They also get Yusuf Nurkic back at the center spot. I mean, the biggest problem there also is all season is the second worst defense in the NBA. Nurkic just improves that by being, one of those guys who knows how to kind of clog the lane and protect the rim and be a big body in there. And just if their defense can just get to average, like you said, I think with the way McCollum's coming on again, playing like he did closer to the start of the year, Lillard's Lillard. He's an MVP candidate, but I'm with you. I think Powell fits. I think that whole team fits together really interestingly. They're another team, by the way, with a really tough schedule. I mean, a lot of teams in the West, the Lakers are backloaded, the Suns are backloaded. Portland's one of those teams really with a backloaded schedule, so they're going to have to do this against good competition.
Another aspect of this past week was the buyout market. I want to hear your thoughts on this. There's some rumblings going around in the league that maybe, why is everyone going to Brooklyn? What do you think about the buyout market generally before we dive into who won and who kind of lost?
Yeah, there was a lot of outcry this year, and a lot of that was on NBA Twitter, and there were fans thinking that, I think a lot of casual fans were like, oh my gosh, they formed a super team. Look at all these names down in Brooklyn. And you're like, well, yeah, except that Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge are role players now. Like, they're just not, I mean, they can contribute, but they're not super. This isn't 5 superstars locked together at their prime either. But there is a lot of concern, and it wasn't just on NBA Twitter. I got a text from a couple players who were just not thrilled with the way this is shaken out. The way the market is now is, if a guy wants a buyout, so he can go to Team X. And remember, Blake gave up 13 million. LaMarcus gave up 7 million. Like, they gave up real money to make this happen. It was going to be hard to move them with those contracts, but agents can depress that market and make it very difficult for, if you re-sign this guy, you won't be, if you trade for him, you won't sign him. We will take him elsewhere. There's things they can do to depress the market. The guy can get the buyout and go where he wants. And they're going to chase rings. I don't think this is just a big market. Oh my gosh, they all went to Brooklyn or Los Angeles. I mean, the Spurs had success, right?
Yeah, yeah. It seems like the motivation is, I want to win.
I want to win, right? Right now, that's Brooklyn and Los Angeles. Ultimately, that may be somewhere else. The problem just becomes, it's not easy to fix. It's not, do you move the buyout date in front of the trade deadline, or do you add draft, like a couple second round picks, draft compensation for signing a guy off the buyout? Like, I'm not sure what direction to go to if you want to calm that market down and cool it down. There's a few directions they can go, but everything has consequences. So by the way,
go ahead. I was going to say that I think that as far as this resetting your market value, that's kind of one risk. I think you're leaving money on the table, but then also you sign a veteran minimum somewhere. If you want to get back to that level that you were previously at, how do you do that when your market is now set? Because in sports, it's basically, what have you done for me lately? You don't get a pass on a body of work. We're going to pay you X amount of money because we loved your 20 years of this, or 10 years of that, or 5 years here. No, exactly. And it can help. Andre Drummond was up to be a free agent this year. He wasn't going to be making $29.8 million with whatever his new contract was. But if he goes to Los Angeles and proves valuable in that role and kind of plays the good Dwight Howard role in that, a championship kind of run, his market value goes up. Like, I get why he's taking that risk. Yeah, I think Andre Drummond for sure is, like, I think the Lakers won the buyout market. Because in my opinion, I just think it's amazing. To me, it's like the Hunger Games, where the Lakers right now are kind of just like waiting for everyone else to take care of each other. Phoenix and Utah are going at it, and they're going to emerge battered. And then AD's been rested. Anthony Davis has been rested for a couple months now. LeBron James has a high ankle sprain, those tend to linger, but LeBron James takes better care of his body basically than anyone else in the league. That's what he's known for. And he's been to a lot of finals. So you imagine that he's going to be ready to go come playoff time. Dennis Schroeder was able to take some more accountability and ownership of this team during this period where the stars were out. Coach Vogel said we're going to lean on him a lot. So that gives him confidence. So when they're in the playoffs, he's going to be that number 3 guy. Everyone on that team understands their role. Caruso, Harrell, like, they all understand what they're there to do. And if Andre Drummond goes and understands, like, just like Marc Gasol did, like, what do you need me to do, and can I do that for you? Come June, this is going to be the most dangerous team in the NBA. Yeah, look, there's still, to me, if they're healthy, if LeBron is going to be healthy, and then we'll see. Like you said, those things can linger. But if LeBron and Anthony Davis are healthy, they set the bar for the league, right? Like, maybe Brooklyn or Utah or somebody can clear the bar, but the Lakers are going to set the level come the playoffs. If you want to be a champion, you've got to be better than the Lakers, and it's not going to be easy. That's a loaded team, and I'm with you. Drummond also helps them in the short term. They don't want to fall back too far. They certainly don't want to fall into the play-in games. They got a 4-game cushion now, but like, Drummond can help them win games if he can, keep his toenails on and stay on the court and stay healthy. He just, somebody described him as an innings-eating pitcher, and I think that's actually a really good way. Like, he's going to be solid night in and night out. He's going to get you some buckets. He can help them win a couple of games and help get them through until they get the stars back in a few weeks. Absolutely. Shifting to the Eastern Conference, we're talking about the race to the playoffs. Who are you a little worried about? Who do you think, okay, they might be on the fringes or they're falling back? What's up with Boston? Can you explain Boston to me? I don't. No, I can't. I that's the team that worries me, because, like, Miami has struggled, but I can see Miami kind of flashes of them getting it together. Boston is just not working for me on a lot of levels. There seems to be some tension in the locker room. Brad Stevens is questioning toughness, which is never a good thing for a coach. The whole thing isn't fitting for me, and I'm not
sure sometimes with situations you're like, they just need X or they need to find a way to do Y. I'm not quite totally sure what Boston needs to do I don't know that there's one easy answer to this.
Yeah, I might take a stab at it. I'm with you. I don't understand. You have so much talent. I mean, it's unbelievable talent. And I feel like they have a pretty well-rounded unit, as far as, like I said, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart is one of the best defenders in the NBA. I mean, Kemba Walker is cardiac Kemba. I think the question that I have, though, is whose team is it? Because when I think of Boston, I think it's Jason Tatum's team. But when I watch them play, it looks like Jaylen Brown's team. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And and then I don't know where Kemba comes in. I'm like, so some nights it's Kemba's team, So I think that's kind of my question that I don't understand when I watch them play. I don't know if they have clearly defined roles as far as 1, 2, 3, or I guess 1A, and 2. I just don't understand their makeup. Does that make sense, Kurt?
No, that actually totally makes sense. And they need a lot more out of Kemba, frankly. He's just not been the same guy this season. Health has obviously been part of this there, but yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, does Jason Tatum get the ball at end of game, or is it, you're right, Brown seems to drive this team a lot more to me than anyone else. Is there somebody that you're watching that you think could struggle in the East?
I'm with you. I think it's Boston. I think that's pretty clear to everyone, right? It's just like, why isn't this team better? And I think that it's a weird place to be in too, because you have so much talent and you're underperforming, but you're still in the playoff hunt. Other teams would kill for that, but the expectations are different in Boston. So I don't understand, and I don't know how much longer they have, right? Because in today's NBA, I mean, you only have a couple years to figure it out, really, and then other people, then the contract's up and then they travel, they walk. Who do you think will make an end of the season run?
And we talked about it earlier. I think Miami is kind of poised to be that team. I don't love picking up Victor Oladipo and Bielitsa. I think that was plan B, that they really wanted Kyle Lowry. They wanted something splashier, and not just splashier, but Kyle Lowry's still playing at an all-star level. So they wanted to make this bold move. Victor Oladipo, though, just is going to be, look, he may not be the most efficient guy ever, but he's going to get them buckets night in and night out. He can get them points. And like you said, if he can step in and be a third scorer, and they can get some quality minutes at the 4 from Bielitsa, I just think that this is a team that hasn't, because of injuries and COVID and everything, they're just starting to get their legs under them, and they could be a team that goes on a run down the stretch.
Yeah, and I think Oladipo, you think about that Miami mentality, right? I mean, it seems like they all feel like underdogs, counted out, and that's what bands them together, and it's us against the world. And right now, Oladipo, I feel like he could really fit into that team right now because, he was in Indiana, then he goes to Houston, now he's in Miami, he's turning down extensions. What does he want? What is he looking for? And Jimmy Butler just has this ability, to just lead a group of dogs, like just a mentality of, we're going to go out there and we're going to be the underdogs. Doesn't matter what anyone says, let them talk. We're going to go out there and play. And I think Oladipo could play really well in that kind of environment. So I'm excited to see what exactly happens there. In my mind, I'm very curious to see Chicago. I think, once Levine and Vucevic kind of figure that thing out down the road, there's not much road left, but I think Vucevic, just such a great addition to that team. I love Vucevic. So yeah, I think that they might be able to do something.
Yeah, I think so. It absolutely raises their floor, right? They should. I mean, right now they've struggled a little bit with Zach LaVine dealing with an ankle issue, but once they get healthy, this is a top 6 team. Are they a real threat as constructed to the Milwaukees of the world and Brooklyn? No, but they're better than they were. They're at least a solid team. And I'm with you. They can be better if they just get healthy. They just healthy down the stretch.
Yeah, because last year they were not very good, and this year, like you said, they could be a solid 16. That's a huge jump up. On the West Coast, who's worrying you, and who do you think is going to make a late season run?
Worrying me, nobody terribly, frankly, but I will put Phoenix there just because they're sitting comfortably as the 2 seed with the inconsistent Clippers behind them that we don't know what to expect. But they have a brutally tough schedule, tougher than the Clippers, tougher than everybody the rest of the way. How do they handle that? How do they deal with just having to deal with that night in, night out? The team, though, I think is going to make a run. The team I think could be sneaky good as much as I like Denver, and we talked about Dallas.
Yes.
Dallas.
Never count out Luka.
Never count out Luka. Luka makes plays. They've been better lately. Porzingis is back. You've started to see their defense kind of come together. But more than that, easiest schedule in the West the rest of the way. That will help. They were not the backloaded schedule for whatever reason. I guess they've got their national TV stuff out of the way. Whatever reason, they don't have the really hard schedule the rest of the way. That makes them much more dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to the other team in Texas, one of the other teams, my favorite team. I think the Spurs could make a late season little run because, I mean, the Spurs are looking good.
Yes.
I mean, DeMar DeRozan has been very consistent for them, and he's leading this young core that is one of the most exciting in my mind. Is once again flying under the radar because that's just what San Antonio does. But I mean, Keldon Johnson he is exciting. DeJounte Murray every year is getting better. Derek White is sleepily like one of the better players in my mind. I just love the way that team is constructed. Your guy Pirtle is throwing posters around. I think the Spurs could make a nice little run there towards the end of the season.
Yeah, just don't watch Jakob Pirtle shoot free throws, and you're okay. That's kind of painful, but everything else. No, I'm with you. I think that's a really interesting team, and they're an ensemble team that's kind of classically Popovich, aren't they? They can just beat you with a different guy. This isn't, hey, we're throwing the ball to LeBron, good luck and stopping him. This is, we can beat you a lot of different ways with a lot of different guys, and it's tough to defend that kind of team night in and night out when different guys, hey, one night it's DeMar DeRozan, one night it's White, and one night it's Lonnie Walker Jr. All these people can just step up and beat you.
I really like this Spurs team is going, like I said, late, like lower 8-7-6 and trying to, play their way into some interesting competition there towards the end of the season. One team I am worried about, as we mentioned at the top, is the Nuggets. I really do have questions about Denver. I like the Aaron Gordon pickup, but I'm kind of confused. Jokic is playing at an MVP level, which is awesome. Watching him play is beautiful. It's like ballet. It's beautiful. But Jamal Murray, as we've talked about, like, I think they need more from him if they want to get back to where they were last year or break through that ceiling. He's got to play at a higher level. And then Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. It seems like Michael Porter Jr. was the three for them, but he's young. Flashes of brilliance like you're talking about. Then other times, like, it's just hard when you're a young player. It's a lot of games. And being able to show up every night, you have to learn how to become that pro. So I like what I'm seeing, but I don't know if he's there yet. He's still developing. And Aaron Gordon, I don't know, being one of the stars in Orlando, can he adjust to being behind both Jokic and Murray? Like I said, it's just a different role in Denver. So I'm excited to see what happens, but I am a little worried.
Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, Denver needs Bubble Murray back, don't they?
Yeah, but like when Jamal Murray was dropping 40, like crazy performances, like we know how good he is. We know how good it's just, once again, it's a difference between doing it, once or doing it like every single night for 82 games and playoffs. Like that's hard. So I know he can do it. It's just a question is, can he turn it on coming in this late part of the season?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we've talked about it. Jokic is absolutely playing at an MVP level, which kind of leads me to a question for you. How do you view the MVP race right now? Is Jokic the front runner?
Yes. In a word, yes. But I do have a ridge for you. I keep an eye out for Giannis.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think for me, Giannis could win 3 in a row. He's playing at consistently. It's almost like when you're a superstar like Giannis. I was just thinking about it. The graphic for the NBA Instagram was Drew Holiday. He had 28 points, right, in their win recently. Giannis had 25 and 10. It's almost boring.
Yeah. Like
he can score. He can get double-doubles for you at high 20s, double-doubles in incredibly efficient manners, while still allowing, guys and getting guys like Chris Middleton involved in the game. Chris can still take over games when he needs to. And Chris Middleton is playing at a super high level, averaging in the mid-20s, shooting ball super well. And Drew Holiday can go for 30 any given night, but he's also averaging right around, in the 20s as well, or right around the 20s. For Giannis to be in the back, like he doesn't need to be a star every night, but he also is still performing at that high 20s and 10, double-double every single night, night in and night out, without the flash, without any of that. Like, that is a superstar. That's the level. That's what an MVP does, is, get everyone else involved in the game while still performing for you every single night at the highest level against the best competition. And that's why I think Giannis he could do it 3 in a row.
And what he brings is defense.
And they're winning.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're winning, and he brings defense. He is going to be defending at a, Defensive Player of the Year last year, like at a very high level every night. And that's something that Jokic doesn't bring. He's not as bad as the rep, but he's not a great defender. Damian Lillard and the Portland defense, Lillard wants to be in the MVP, should be in the MVP conversation, doesn't want to be, should be in the MVP conversation, but their defense is not great. James Harden is, playing like an MVP level offensively in Brooklyn. I don't think we need to discuss his defensive reputation over the years. What Giannis brings is that two-way ability. And I'm with you, by the way. He would be in my top 3 right now. I'm not quite. It's so wide open. I was telling somebody the other day that I feel like my mid-season MVP rankings were more like a college football awards watch. I don't know who's going to be number. It's so all over the map this year that how I feel now, and I'm not sure how I'd vote right now, but I don't know how I'd vote now is how I would vote a month from now, 6 weeks from now, 8 weeks from when the season ends. It's going to feel very different by then.
Yeah, in 8 weeks we'll have a great new episode with 3 new people.
Exactly. Watch out, man. Here comes Alex Caruso, MVP. I'm just telling you.
Hey, look, I love Caruso, Joe Harris, my favorite players in the NBA. But yeah, it is crazy to see how wide open it is, and James Harden is playing at a super high level too. I mean, it's just a wonderful time to be a basketball fan, and we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, don't sleep on Giannis.
No, don't sleep on Giannis. But yeah, Jokic might be the front runner right now, maybe.